Okay, so YouTube says we're back. That's cool. I mean, that was like a forced break in playing. Like, we got through the first like zone. Very Blade Runner, very cool. Um, but to the actual work at hand here, probably I feel like I only have like a couple days left, and this update should be good, at least for like a quick beta. We can throw it up on the beta. The beta Steam. Oh, what was I gonna go look at the marketplace real quick? I will look at this. I will look at this. And this is all now just inspiration of what I'll go build. That's similar. Oh my god. I've been thinking about that for so long. Building that actually. There's a lot of stuff on here today. It's the same. I think I see. Okay, I'm just looking at the same stuff. Cool. Oh, file browser. I got my own. I don't like it. I need to rewrite it. But I figured I had to finally make my own file browser. Interesting. Telephone poles. We're gonna make those too. I'm gonna try to make that corrugated iron thing in Substance Painter Designer today. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Yeah. Yeah. I just make my own. That's cool. I mean, that's how it is in general. Yeah, I got lots of these. The question is like, is there a lampshade shader better than mine? Like mine, I have some thought in mind, but it's not like all that evolved. What's up, Pranav? 2 days? I don't know if it's 2 days, but it's only a couple days more work, and I just got to put it out. It's super bad for everything for me to delay releases like this for so long. Pipe World, you know. So I gotta just put it out there, bugs and all and whatnot, but I think it's pretty good. I have this system made for power cables, and all I have to do is spawn lights along it, and I'll have a Christmas tree gun. Or tool. That's what I've decided, like, positioning wise, is we'll call it a tool. I'm gonna just keep calling it a gun, but it's gonna be named a tool in the game. I don't trust the scale of this stuff. Super questionable the scale of all this. Like, there's, you know, like, you got to put the mannequin in these renders, you know, at this point, because it's, or else like I can't tell what's going on with that. These look really there are some really great character artists on here, and I'm sure they do. I'm not sure, but I bet they do fairly well on an ROI point of view of spending the time doing this, because the number of people prototyping right now is quite high. The only thing is that, you know, Paragon characters are free. Paragon characters are pretty heavy, pretty juicy to load up. But someone who's new to it, or someone who's prototyping, may not know that though. So I made another prefab yesterday. It's this industrial warehouse prefab, and I think I took screenshots of it, and it's going well. You know, like the framework is there programming wise. What the hell? Oh, okay, yeah. So, like, programmer me is going to kind of chill out for a little bit here. There's still some... These are shader issues, is that this material is actually has a color parameter that's being reset, is what's happening. So I'm going to have to just give that a think. That's more of a tech art thing than, like, the actual core. But I, like, spent, like, 3 months, like, programming these new systems. Like, it should be like this basically, and then this one is actually like a black, like, again, these are linear colors, so oh, you can't paint that. It'll paint the whole thing. But yeah, so basically I made these shaders before we had this paint tool, and yeah, they reset on a save. But what I have now, oh, I realize I can't see the chat. Hold on a second. Put this here. There it is. Okay. I'm going to have sci-fi assets in the game. I'm going to go make one right now. Yeah. The space wall. I'm going to make a space wall. But so we have the whole modular system. It's going quite, I think it works very well together. and I'm in like after this update, it'll be a content push of like, let's make a ton of stuff, and I might get Houdini because I've been watching a lot of demos, and I'm like, that's the way this like should be, but like, it's just a time investment, right? It's gonna probably be like a couple weeks before I'm like really putting together like digital assets correctly, etc. But and a lot of like Houdini's digital asset workflow into Unreal Engine can be kind of done in Blueprints itself. Like the demos, the way they're marketing it, Houdini to Unreal Engine right now is like, you know, the static mesh. Well, actually, in 4.24, Unreal Engine's doing more and more mesh editing and procedural UVing and voxel remeshing. Like these are all things that you can do in Houdini, but like you're starting to do them in Engine. So it's like, I'm still kind of like waiting for it to continue to evolve. 4.24 and the way that direction is kind of like Houdini, we're gonna kind of do a lot of that in here, never to like the full extent, I'm sure, but like, I don't know. Anyway, we spawned this whole prefab, completely editable, and then not that you would probably put a ramp on it, but it's, and this is a oh, I need to make 400 tall stairs. That's kind of a, okay, maybe it's a couple days, but it's not like weeks left for this at all. It's an asset push at this point. Programming's done, proven, I like it. You can come in and still start to adjust this stuff, which is the power of this new system compared to the other ones. When I made maps, they were not editable. You just got a map, that was it. That was all you had. This now, you can spawn them out and start editing them, painting them, building on them. They stay on the grid. And I made this one yesterday. Oh, I forgot. That's not how you do it anymore. So I could just spawn out this entire warehouse, run out here. I can spin out another one right next to it. Right there. And you will eventually have some like Z fighting issues, but build it all out, and it's all using the new modular system. So you can, again, just like start like editing it immediately. All right, you want to bridge these two together. I can load up the wall, or I can just copy and paste it across like this. Right, now I'm like starting to bridge these two buildings together. So full modularity. Do you still work in the industry? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I think in a way I do, but I don't make my living as a freelance DP anymore. But am I in the film industry? I don't know. Who makes the call on that? Not sure. The pedestrians in Lumion are a good example, I think. Yeah, I haven't put much into like crowd systems, but I'm not like I know I could make them. It comes down to like performance of like how many people you can have out at once is where I'm not confident. I'd have to just keep experimenting. Like my current humans are very expensive, like on all fronts. Like they're just not optimized. It was really just a question of like, can I do it? Right? So it's like I can patrol these people now, basically make another mark here. Spin it around. Hit loop, hit play, and he'll just infinitely walk back and forth. Oh, the nav mesh isn't big enough. I made this map 100 times bigger than it was. There's no nav mesh out here. That's why he's just sitting there. But I can rate the behaviors. I can rate the collisions. I can have them prefer to go towards spline paths on roads and stuff like that. But it becomes an optimization thing where it's like, okay, I want like 50 people. This current system is way too expensive for that. So it becomes like an optimization thing for me. But I could definitely write crowd sim stuff for basics. But before we need any more cameras or lights or people even, people's pretty high. That's the next big project. We need sets, and we need a robust sets, maps, building system, and that's what this is. If there's no sets, if we can't build, if I can't keep adding environments to it, there's nothing to do. You know, we just filming on a skybox with a gray wall. So that's what this 3 months has like kind of been. Just kind of rethinking this and simplifying and bringing in the tools concept finally, which Academy mode kind of kicked that off. Start deleting everything. But the prefabs are working out pretty well, and I just need to I want a couple pieces to add to this prefab and have this house be a little bit more fleshed out. So we'll have like a on the list is like, you know, a sidewalk with a corner and some roads, and we'll spawn out the whole a little town. You kind of look at it. If that's good enough for you, you can start shooting on it. If, you know, otherwise, it's like if you want to try to build, it's like, well, look, this is like kind of how houses go together. You can start to kind of like reverse engineer it. You could extend this house. You could just delete this off, spawn another one on top of it, and delete the pieces. I just need a couple more pieces to make this feel like finished. Basically, that's like you could make an entire little house with a little exterior and a little road, and then you could take that and build 3 of them. You have the neighborhood set back, kind of. Oh, fences. I wanted to make a fence, actually. So it's just like a content push to get this ready to go. Programming wise, it's pretty fine. I'm going to update these shaders so that they're using color maps in the color channel instead of a color parameter to decide their color, because the way that the game works now is that it's going to reset the color tint always back to white, and that's how I used to dictate the actual overall color. So I got to change that. That's pretty easy. So content, it's content time. This is where I wasn't before until now, honestly. It's like oh, I'm gonna make a ton of static meshes, right? Like a lot. And then what program is really good at making a ton of Unreal Engine static meshes procedurally is Houdini. Blender is good for like making the base meshes, UVing them. You know, I'm back into we're gonna use Substance Painter until 2.81 comes out. I'll look at it again, but Substance Painter just works. I already bought it. ZBrush for high poly mapping. Watched a couple more tutorials. I now remember how like that really works a little bit better. But ZBrush, I went through the whole, I watched like all the tutorials targeted towards Unreal Engine people. And you basically get like a Houdini asset here. You drag it out, and then you get the Houdini exposed parameters. And you're basically interacting with the parameters here, but it's actually running Houdini in the background. And it's like a live link. It just live links it back to you. That's what's happening. It's not like you can run it, you can't use it at runtime, but there's no, like, the main example for me is stairs. There's a formula of how many stairs, how tall they are, how the railings get assembled, all that stuff 100% could just be a Houdini script and a digital asset. And like this example, I have walls that are 300 tall, I have walls that are 400 tall. But now I have to make a 400 tall stair, whereas if you did it in Houdini and you just expose the height and the number of stairs as a parameter, it would just regenerate the whole thing. It would UV it completely. Like, stairs is definitely like a super good use case of making a Houdini digital asset. I looked at the programming of it. I think I could pick it up in like a week. Not like, you know, I don't only know like the basics of it, but like making meshes, spawning them on vertices, UVing them. There's like all these things are just nodes. It's like voxelize the whole thing, hollow it out, make an LOD right there in Houdini, have it name it correctly. You have to tell it to like use something as a collision and a couple other things. Doesn't look too hard. It's just like getting that up and running. But I'm gonna make a space wall real quick. That's what's important. Question is a space wall 400 tall or 300 tall? It's probably, you know, I kind of want to make just like for fun. Now the Star Wars ships are not circular. I've made this before for Synod. My other plugin I used to have for Set Designer, I did the same thing. People used it too. It was hilarious. It's quite specific, but Star Wars is quite a prolific brand. So it's these like capsule patterns, right? Like when do you see those? What's the shape of the room? I want to make a curved piece. So like I've made a kind of like that one. We made 300 tall straight. We just made yesterday a 400, or whenever I made it, 400 tall with a little bit of like structural detail on it. And then the question is like make a wall with like a just straight up circular opening and have the walls be like sci-fi paneled out. Is really the experiment here. And like, okay, so this one's very, this is what I was expecting actually. And then specific light panels too, which I'll do in the office as well. Like the office set that we generate is going to be default drop ceiling with panel lights on the top. So you just like when you start making it, they just automatically are there. This is kind of like a step towards that. So like in this set, it's this windy corridor, right? But in general, the ceiling is flat, and I don't want that. I already know this. The question is, I'm going to put these panels in them, but I'm going to make the walls a little bit more like this, a little sci-fi, right? And it's a question of like what's wall and what's floor, right? Like in this set, like if this is modular, is the, because like it's a hexagon, right? But like what part's the floor, what's the wall? I'm going to make the floor just get covered by the walls. To me, these are wall pieces. That's how I would think about it. And I'm going to have the ceilings like this too. I've built this exact set that I'm going to build, but it wasn't modular and it wasn't Unreal Engine. It didn't have a material that's going to be illuminated already for you. So it's going to be kind of like a mashup of this for the ceiling lighting, this for the walls with this pattern on it. And the floor will just be like some sort of like shiny metal, which I haven't made that custom yet. So it's a bit of a segue. It's a bit of a like not exactly the plan, but I kind of want to also. It's kind of also like stress testing the system I've written like, will this work? And this thought of like, my system works on a grid. How do we turn on 40? How do we turn? You know, I've seen a couple of different people. I've watched a couple of GDC things about like procedural dungeon generators, where you stay on a world grid until you turn, and then it goes to a local grid. I don't think I'm gonna write that right now. Or I just make a straight up 45-degree version of it that lines up with the world grid, which is more like what I'm thinking in this case, versus going into pure local grid. That's I think that turns back into programming. I want this to be more like an art exercise, like programmer Matt's all done, right? But now it's like tech art, regular art, level design art. Person has to take over, kind of use the system, and like, couldn't I use it to make this kind of stuff? There's still questions. I kind of want to stress test this with like something a little bit more complicated. I feel like it will work, but until you make it, you don't really know. So these are going to be 400 tall. I'm going to do 400 pieces for this one. 4.2. That didn't work. 0.2. That super is not working. What's up with this 0.2? It's not working. I plan to include Academy mode, the alpha of it. Yeah, I can show it to you now. It's like, it'll take you 5 seconds to do it, but it's a completely new mode that I wrote, and I had to write all the quest trackers and the UIs and stuff. So it's like the very foundation of it. But yeah, it'll be here. It'll be there too. I'm done with it for now. I'm gonna continue to work on it. And if we ever want like in-game tutorials, is like, this is how you build. Like I'll be using that same system to make that happen. Hard Ops, Box Cutter, Decal Machine. Yeah, for sure. I've watched all those demos. I follow the dev on Twitter too. I forget his name, Xenon or something like that. How come I can't scale this? What's happening with that? What is that? Oh, it's a plane. That's why. It's a plane. How did I made a plane by accident. Playing too many video games. So, floor. I'm gonna call this. What is this? This is really like a sci-fi test. Science fiction's not really like, that's a genre. It's not like an architecture though. Spaceship. I'm gonna call it this. Just gonna call it a space. Okay, so this is a space floor. 400, 400, 01. We're not gonna make many variations. It's just gonna have like, we're gonna go in Substance Designer and make like a little sci-fi looking tiley floor, shiny floor. It needs to be very shiny because I'm going to ray trace a lot of these examples. It needs to be extremely shiny, with a little bit of, with a good amount of roughness breakup, and then also patterning that matches the rest of it. These sets live and die by their reflections, not this one necessarily, but like this is like a ray tracing. This would be like a very hard ray tracing example for Unreal Engine to handle, because everything is going to be below 0.4. Well, you set the ray tracing reflection threshold. Mine will be well below it and very shiny, with a lot of breakup in it. So it's also one of the only sets that's going to be default, like almost a black mirror. I think it's gonna look great. I know these sets look real good in Unreal Engine, especially if we set the flare correctly on the practicals, just like Star Wars looks pretty similar. So let's see. So yeah, this is kind of like the final stress test before I I'm pretty confident about this system already, but this is going to get into like weird shapes. I'm going to try making a banked version of it so we can kind of turn and won't be. We could make it smooth. I was considering making this like a full circle, like a tube, like we're just extruding a tube around for the base with a circular wall opening. I am going to make a wall with this, but that's just like an arc. I know that's going to work. I'll keep it still like kind of blocky. I'm not going to make like the tunnel set yet. But we'll just do the space one. Space. I call this block space master 1. So it's basically a floor. The floor is actually just a material. This base mesh will work, the one I already have in there. It's the walls and the ceilings, like how they go together because they're so tightly like that. Okay, so let's get the old mannequin out first of all, before I go any further with this thing. Only time Blender crashes on me is when you start to use like Eevee too much. Like if you start like changing the settings in Eevee, that's the only time I've had a crash. 0.1. So there's the mannequin. So, looking into positive XY, he is facing us. So he would be backwards. He's backwards. Like he's not facing forward at the moment, but it's fine. Okay, so first is the wall profile from the front. It's going to be kind of like hexagon-y, and then trying to figure out like design-wise where, because the ceiling and the floor are going to get covered up by this, and we'll make one that's just a straight panel. I've made a couple of these before. It's like you have to make the one that's like in a wall, one with a door, and then basically that. The door one gets kind of complicated because you have to like extrude into it and stuff. But yeah, so let's do a cube. Hard ops and stuff. That's like for me. That's like a detailing thing. I'm not gonna jump into that just yet. I just kind of want to see like these kind of block out forms. But I definitely get that this is like a prime candidate for those programs. Wrong place to do that. There we go. So are we okay? This is also maybe an opportunity to stray from the thickness. Like 0.2, 20 centimeters is like my default thickness for all my systems. This could also be a fairly safe place because I'm not sure I'm going to ship this kit. It's I think for that I should probably the more I vary the heights and the thicknesses, the less interoperability there is between these modular pieces. But you know, I'm still just trying to like push the edges of it. Like where does this break? Like when can we just, you just basically can't do it that way, and we need to move into like spline component based level layout stuff in the blueprints, which I've already tested a bunch of those systems. I have the tick functions written throughout their timers, but I have a system for placing spline anchors and it auto-calculating the vector, the handles and placing them and ending them. And so I have the core mechanic. I just have to be like, now you're placing like an entire road and it's the same spline system. But how far does this blocky world system work? I think if I make the floor super thick, then it's just cutting into the ground too much, like way too much. So I don't think that's the move there. But it could, here it's not as bad, but I don't know. I don't know what happens if you leave this 20 thick and this is like, say, 100. Like what? If it's a full meter. So I'm still not ready to iterate on that, but that's still like a question. Like I think, I have a feeling it doesn't look too good if you make these thicknesses like kind of like uneven. Let's put a ceiling stand in too. That's not how you do that. There's two of these here. That's the original. GZ4. There we go. It's pretty tall. This is kind of it. It's kind of, oh, you know, they're kind of like they're like anamorphic doors. They're real wide. That's a thought. Making the floors 800 by, I haven't done non-square floors. I mean, you make a non-square floor by just using 2 square floors. Or do I force it like that? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because then, like, I think that's too weird. I think I want to keep the floor still square, and you could still make this. You just cut it in half. I just have a door left and a mirrored door on that one, and you just have 2 square ones here. I think I'm still going to stay square floor. Yeah, I'm going to stay square. Okay. So 400 tall, I think feels a little bit tall, but you know, in a video game, it's not. Like we'll come in here and then there's it's symmetrical. It probably is kind of symmetrically. This is like a pretty good reference. So like say this was whatever X height this is in thirds. I bet you that looks a little bit too chunky. It could be like quarters, and then you just take the top quarter and the bottom quarter, and there's a half there. It's probably quarters. That's probably the move. And I'm gonna kind of ignore the overlap when I'm doing the design of this. That's not the hotkey we wanted. It's Q transforms. There it is. So, it begins. So if we cut it there, this doesn't look that good. Like I think that door height feels like really good for video games. It's kind of tall for reality, not for a spaceship necessarily. Like if I make the doors like open from there, it's kind of a big. But I think quarters feels safe, especially because this is 400 tall. It's just like 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter. It's just like definitely easy math on that front. Then we look at it from the front, and we kind of decide how much. Now we're gonna have this floor overlap because I'm Fortniting the snap system on this versus like most video games. You're gonna. If it was only the level designer who was doing this, you would never do that. You would just have it be right there. But given that I'm using the Fortnite style system, we're going to have to just kind of design in this flat overlap. It's really one of the hardest things for me design-wise to remember to do correctly is have the floors intersect like this. Feels weird. But so the safe thing to start at is like a meter, right? Like, and what does this look like? It doesn't feel very sci-fi already. It feels kind of... Nah, it's got the vibe. It's there. It's there. So that's pretty safe, right? We cut like we're staying on like a computer. I could write this in like Houdini, you know what I mean? Like it's like, you know, make a cube, scale it to this, grab the bottom verts, which these are numbered in Houdini, I think is one way to do it. There's a couple different ways of like selecting procedurally, something like that. And it's like move it a meter, move that a meter, right? So everything's at the meter mark, you know, very straightforward kind of modeling. And then in Houdini, you could expose the distance that these two are moving out as a parameter. So I could go through the whole process and then at the end be like, you know what, we're going to make it 2, and the whole, you wouldn't, like here I'd have to remodel the whole thing. Houdini, this would just be a parameter you expose out. So it's only literally half the picture if I do it this way. So we kind of want to look at this mirrored to see how much, like what does it make as an effective walkway? It's very skinny, even with the meter out. So I'll put a modifier on this thing. Where are you, mirror? Yeah, so if you do this, it is pretty. I mean, you want to see this in engine, really. You got to walk around, but it makes a pretty skinny little pathway here. It effectively gives you 2 meters, which in the game feels like just enough for just you to walk in. So it's not like this double one, but you could make 2 wide and then have this one over, and then you'd have 400 across. So that's fine. I think I almost immediately need to bring this piece in and test it. But I'm going to cut out the door version of it too. And then we want the wall opening, like the opening that interfaces with this. And I kind of like this. But I also like the one that's like just like a circle. There's like a single door and there's like a half door. Because this look is real strong. And then we want to design out like where are these rectangle patterns going to come from? Or where are they, like in the design? Probably like hotkeys. Yeah, there's tab. This is a 4x4, which is really easy now. So if I go like that, we could see this one doesn't have it, so we're kind of like mashing up designs. It's kind of like, you know what? It could be like, oh, I like this actually. This ones are like kind of, is that a wall? Would this be like a wall piece that we put in and they're actually like further back? And then there could be flat ones, like, or there's a lot of different ways to push this. That's just ceiling ref. Is that someone's actually house? That's awesome. I think that could just be a wall, and we could be a lot more mellow with these. It's more like these come in. I like this mellow version of it where it's not so steep. Like this isn't so steep. So that's either that's a function of this coming out further or that coming down. Both of those options I don't really like. But then the wall piece is essentially like this, but just further in. Let me make that 2. I'm gonna make that right now. Hold on, so I'm gonna do. What's this one? It's just called cube. So copy paste. Let's hide. I do need to make the wall before I can kind of like know what's going on. So I have this. This is the duplicate. We're gonna make this into a full wall. So I was thinking about making this one like, because this is kind of like a wall that goes for like a double wide. You'd be doing 2 across, or else it's very skinny. We'd want to pull it out like 50 or 60 or 40, maybe 40. So I could just type that in like gx.4 for all these, gx.4, and then does it connect at the top? I don't think it does. I think it just leaves it. Nah, you need like a trim. It needs a trim piece. So then we will cut it here and then bridge across that. I don't know if that's going to be a linear cut. I think it's going to go at an angle. I could pull that down and extrude it. That is what I'm going to do. So we only connect at the top for this door frame because you still need to walk through it. And it makes it super skinny, so you really need to make this like a double wide when you build it. So GX, I'm not in global snap, but it's okay. Let me go to absolute snap, or what that I think of it like global snap, but all right, like this. Okay, undo GZ. So this would give me a trim of, I actually don't know how this is going to work out. I would extrude up and then extrude this way. I'll just start doing that, I guess. So convert to faces. We're going to EZ 0.2, 0.3. Huh. Like that. The floor will leave like this. I might like flatten it out or something design-wise. And then I bring these faces here to the middle on an extrude. So that. There's gonna be faces in there. And then I would shrink this down, because this is a wall piece I'm making right now. It just has too many subdivs in it. So I'm gonna start cutting out all the shit we don't need. I should have cut that out earlier, but okay, so we have a, that's not the move. I have a bunch of cleanup to do to make this an actual wall piece that has too much. We're gonna make it 20 wide, and then it's just kind of like this boundary, open boundary kind of mesh. I'm gonna ISO this piece so I can see what's happening. Oh yeah, we have a lot of extra geometry. Super messy. And it is only half. I actually don't need the mirror because this is only gonna be half. Oh no, and then I need a middle piece to span it if I do it like this. Okay, this is yeah, it's this. It's like what's the ceiling and what's the roof. This doesn't work out if I do it like that. It's a little bit of puzzle piece making to make this all happen here. If you ever start a Discord, love to I appreciate that. I have one. I don't go there. I might resurrect it at some point. I kind of get overwhelmed with feedback, with just like too many messages. So I kind of just have to walk away from those things usually. It's just too much, just too many people messaging me and stuff, so I can't. It becomes too much of a job. But I think it's still active. I think there's people there, but I don't go there myself. Maybe someday I'll go back. So this needs to be on y.2. That's not how we want to do that. That actually works fine, but I'm going to put this at the cursor, freeze the transforms, they already are, and then I'll do 0.2, not on that axis. That was the wrong axis, this one. 0.2. So now it's kind of like what I was thinking for a wall piece, but it definitely comes into question, like, what is the roof then? And is the roof going to intersect it? And can't quite do it this way. This isn't going to work, but this is why I'm testing this stuff. So if I move this where it should be, it's GY2. That was actually fine. Let's do GY2. And then let me see how the walls are kind of feeling with this now. Like, okay, I don't like the extrusion I did. I just pulled it straight out. It should be on normal, the way that comes down. I can kind of fake it. So that's bad. This is not the right art piece, but if I flip that one, we make a tube, but if there's two of them, what piece goes in between them? And that can't be the wall. So it's, yeah, these are a little trickier. It's also tricky that I'm like designing this for too wide. So I'm gonna pull away from the wall for a second. That's not solved, but let's go prove this dimension out. I'm gonna cut out the door instead. I'll do that, but this proves I need to think about the if I call it the dimensions, I will. I need to proof out the wall concept, like what is roof, what is wall, and how would you trim across, like in a very simple way, modular way. Okay, so let's do I'm really interested in how the center door cutout's gonna look, and if the door height is okay in the wall. Doesn't need to be mirrored, this one I'm about to make. So I'll hide the original. This is gonna be this is space wall 400, 402. I'll kill the mirror modifier, and does this have subdivs in it? I should have UV'd this, because now I'm gonna have to UV this one too, but so I'm considering cutting out this, like that's a door. And then I'll like I would like to stay quads, but this is really easy to finish into triangles. But I would prefer to keep this into quads if I can. I want to see the wireframe. There should be a shortcut that do that almost every time. And yeah, there's definitely a ton of hard ops for like detailing can happen, but like the overall, I wouldn't Boolean this kind of stuff. I need like super clean topology if possible out of it. Though I guess if you know how to use hard ops correctly, the topology is fine. I don't. So I'm more like, I would just use it like ZBrush and make a ton of high poly stuff and project it back onto this mesh. Now that was super dangerous. I could have been selecting like something behind it. Is this a quad? 1, 2, 3. Oh, this still is a quad like that. Okay, good, perfect. It looks like feet. It looks like pants. Really, really weird pants. That's funny. Where's all the stuff? Okay, yeah. Space door. Edit mode. Hide. That one's not good. It's time to Blocktober this, because we gotta see if this is even worth it. But I'm pretty into this. I think this is gonna be really cool. Once I get that wall piece, will kind of finish it off, and it acts as the trim between these two wall pieces. And I guess I'm gonna just stick the panels like here. It's not like fully getting the vibes that I want from it. Just like the warehouse didn't exactly nail it, but it's like on the road to it working for me. So let's UV this and the other one, and these we'll just use the same ones, and I'll go stick that in the engine and go build the spaceship and see how it feels. I don't need the other half. That's just for looking at. Let's UV these two pieces and then head on over. And there's no point in selecting it here because this is a fully its own view. Image, open, shortcut, this thing, C2, didn't work, C2, there it is, okay. Right, and then generally if like this block out works, then it's like I can just like make a high poly and like put all the crazy detail into it and then just bake that onto this after, video game style. It's questionable if I should project it this way, actually. Like, what is a good way to do this? Like, that'll distort it technically on the banked angle. Don't rotate shit. I'm not sure. There's a lot of Blender add-ons that speed a lot of your modeling workflow. SpeedFlow and HardOps. Yeah, for sure. I've seen both of those. I'm not like quite ready to do them, but I know what you mean. I feel like I almost have stock Blender, like, because like you guys sound like you know Blender, but it's like when you started, you probably didn't jump right into the add-ons, right? Because like the add-ons come in and kind of fill in the workflow that like you now know it's lacking. Like these text tool add-ons, like the UV add-ons, like I know what stock Blender does, and I know I need them, and I know like what to use them. I'm still kind of feeling like the edges of just stock Blender modeling. I think I'm getting there. Like I kind of know like what it can do before I do them, so I'm not quite ready to jump onto the modeling stuff. Though oh, I put this as a hockey. That's cool. But I've watched the videos and I understand like the he basically took their Boolean system and kind of skinned it with some helper options like on the technical side, so that when you're doing the Booleans, it's doing a lot of like the applying. It keeps it kind of procedural, and it applies a lot of like the beveling and stuff for you. And I don't know if he actually rewrote some of the core bevel stuff or Booleans, but he skinned it in like, you don't just do raw Booleans in the modifier stack. He has it so that it'll go for loop through all the different versions for you, and it's pretty clever. It's a little bit of work for sure. Okay, so I'm modeling this kind of poorly. I'm like, I model it in local space to like how the grid works. I'm not modeling it in where I normally model this stuff. So the UVs are a little bit funny, but we're not in a bad place with them. They're just not exactly how they should be. It's kind of like this, because I usually look at walls straight. I should probably just rotate this wall, but I think I can interpret the differences here. Pack 90 G bottom. So oh, I'm upside down. I was like, they're upside down. So there's that one. It's pretty easy. And let's do the other one. I'm close to getting into those, and I'm also close to just going straight to Houdini for this, because like this wall, like I said, it's like if I want to like come back and change the design later, it's like it's a node, and I don't go into Blender. I just bring that asset into Houdini, into Unreal Engine through the plugin. Main difference being that that's going to cost me about $5,000 at least to have that. Like the Unreal, like Houdini full is expensive for a studio my size. And then the Houdini engine, which talks to it, costs money too. It's like a different cost. It's like, that's the other thing holding me back from doing it. It's like, it's not trivial, but it is the right time in like kind of the production pipeline of this game to consider that kind of stuff. There's something like I don't know, like romantic about just hand modeling everything. But I've watched enough Houdini case studies where it's like, as a solo dev, it's like, that's not a good idea. You probably should go for something procedural and like, so it'll happen. I do the back. That being said, I wasn't ready to model things procedurally for the blocking system until I knew how to do them like this. You can't write the procedural version if you don't know how to do the old school step-by-step version. So I still have, ooh, okay, so here's where things get a little different, right? Okay, hold on one second. Okay, so these are bottom projections. Texel density time. What is the texel density of this? I should know this by heart at this point. This is like the texel density of the game. That doesn't feel good. Okay, this is why. Calculate. 4.659. Is that a familiar number? It should be, because that's what... Oh no, that's 4x4. It's a tiny bit different than the other texel densities we've been doing. But I should be able to then just hit this one with it. It should match. This is the bottom face, so it doesn't like super matter, but you should never see this unless I like turn on Chaos Engine, which I sure as hell am going to as soon as I upgrade. So you will eventually see this once you start blowing them up, but we're not there just yet. And that wants to be legible from below, which is this way. and then you pack it to center it, and then you density it, and then you pull it down only on Y. So I got my layout tools. It's just a little hacky. It's just a couple more steps, but it can be done. So this one, project. We want to set the textile density and then do something like that. Because if this was to tile, it would be on this face. It wouldn't be on that open. Not that this is planning on tiling to anything. You guess you could put like 2 back to back. Might as well tile it correctly if it was ever to tile like this. Textile density add-on. Thank God I have this now. There we go. So that's this one. Funny pants wall. And then it's just like subdivided 20 times and have at it in ZBrush or whatever, and there's hard ops, and just make all the details, and then Substance Painter it, and there it is. Have a cool looking thing. I'm not as confident about now. I would have thought actually that because I projected it from the side that this would line up, like it kind of like this is lining up, but this one doesn't feel like it lines up, or maybe it does. It's just the way that like if I had mirrored it, I was expecting this to line up with that. I don't feel confident about. That's halfway. That's 3/4 of the way. These should be lined up. They don't feel like they are. Why is that? Like this should line up here. This is projected from this way. I'm not doing regular unwraps. I'm doing all 90-degree ortho. They should project. That should be there. This side is, I don't trust this textile density now. Like this seems wrong. Like this is too big. What's the textile density of this? Calculate. It's a little different. It really shouldn't be. Select threshold. These should all be the same. Oh, I want to go back to my where I trust the textile densities. What is this? Is it because when I projected this, this is not? I have to select it. I don't like that. These should project the same. And what's this? That should line up, unless I'm missing something, because I'm projecting from orthos. Like orthos basically don't care that this is has the face coming towards it. It's just straight projecting it. This should be 1, and this should be 1, and it doesn't look like it is. Hold on, let me do this again. That's a square. What's your textile density? It's different. It's bigger. I screwed this up, man. I'm not Houdini Indie. Looks like flying machines from Tron. Oh, okay. I am a full Houdini license. If I decide to use it commercially, which instantly I'm using it commercially. No, I'm the full Houdini license. If it was India, it would be super easy. Why is that one different? Why is it 5.9? I'm just gonna move on with it, but that lines up now. This actually might be, no, it's not. It's not. What's up with this piece? If I set this, it looks about right though. There's something, it's either right and I'm like stressing it, or like I think it is right. It's just the material isn't lining up with it. I think that is correct, because that looks like you're basically cutting it in quarters, and that looks like where it should be. So I think it's actually fine, but kind of weird. Okay, so I do need to orient this kind of more like how this should be for how I do this system. And this is clearly the interior. So GZ90. I never remember. It's RZ90. Okay, I never remember which way it's gonna turn. Okay, so here's where things get a little if it was done correctly, this should be GY2 or -2. I guess, right? -2. That's its correct origin to snap into our system. Now we're going to lose 10 centimeters here, so I might model that flat here to kind of remind myself that. And to not have this go, not invisibly just like collide into the floor. Like give it like a flattening, basically. And then so this one needs to get pivoted the same way. RZ -90, GY -2. Like that. Okay, so these are the walls. That took a long time, but here they are. So space wall time. Let's go look at this in the game. FBX. Do I have a space wall? I'm gonna make a new folder. FBX to UE4 because we're gonna have FBXs to Substance and ZBrush and all over the place eventually. Faces. I still am not super comfortable with the whole like edge smoothing back and forth. Okay, I'm gonna call this. I'll keep the prefix. So we're gonna say space. What do I have selected right now? I don't know. It's a wall 400 400 01. Call it type 01 iteration 01 because you want to do hot reloading back into the engine as much as possible. Yeah, and then that's the second one. I think the selections are still fine. Probably need a hotkey for export FBX. I do that a decent amount. Type 201 400 400 block space wall 400. Modifiers selected armature doesn't matter. Okay. So here's 2 new wall pieces. So I'll import the meshes into the fort stuff. This is being laggy. Sometimes playing games in 4K and streaming them and then directly jumping into Unreal Engine is a bad idea. Like I should restart. I really should have because like my stream crashed, so I should have just restarted, but got inspired to make these space walls here. I need to make this the shortcut of the day over here. Blocks, space, pin to quick access. There it is, space. Don't make any materials. They look good. Let's give them complex collisions for now. Complex. I'm going to put this in the grid system. So we'll put the grid materials on them. And they should just be... Oh, they're 400 tall. So for testing, I'll put them in the warehouse. Because like I don't have... all the industrial stuff is 400, 400. All the house in grid stuff is currently 400, 300. So I got to do it into that system. So, blocks. What did I just say I'm going to do? I'm going to do these as industrial pieces because they'll just work. So they're just walls. I'll just call this industrial wall 4 and 5. That'll be fine until I make a space set. Wall 400, 404 with no suffix. Okay. I will have to come sort this out later. Okay, let Unreal Engine chill for a second. Yeah, I should have restarted my computer. Oh, wow, we're slow. Whoa, what the fuck is this? Oh, we're in a bad. I should have restarted. I'm also oh my god, what's going on here? Holy shit, oh my god. I do have 3 monitors now. I don't know if that like has been like stressing out my computer more than normal. Makes sense. That makes sense. I don't know. I mean, I use ray tracing constantly, but I'm considering defaulting the project back to DirectX 11 when we ship it. But that's like admitting defeat. I kind of don't want to do that, but DX12 is a little bit new. Shit, this is super slow. This is gonna suck. Okay, this is backwards. No, it's not. There we go. We're fine. It looks. It's not space now. It's bricks. That's still fine. We'll still look at it. And is this set up for a single material? It's set up for 3. This will eventually have Probably just do the whole thing as one substance painter material. I don't see. Actually, I take it back. This is like the use case of trim sheets. Is if I make like a trim sheet that is the that pattern I want, I just UV it correctly. I'm still not there yet. I still don't really know how to do trim sheets all that well. I'm just gonna kill that there. I kind of understand it. I've just never fully completed the workflow to like really get it. YouTube's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. My internet today has been a little bit questionable. Looks like we're still kind of okay though. My internet router is a bit too far to hard plug it in, but I have like kind of insanely strong Wi-Fi antennas in this PC. But that it is a little sketch. But what's even sketchier is when I plug this PC in directly to the internet is I have to like unplug it and reset it every single time. So I just go with like a mega strong Wi-Fi antenna. +1 Apple. I've never had an issue with my iMac Pro connecting to the Wi-Fi or the hard port on Windows. It's like I feel like I have to know like router programming to get it to work sometimes. Which, for the record, I don't know very much about, like, networking, programming stuff. That's why I like Blueprints. And the Steam subsystem's, like, super easy. Anyway, so we could put this... I think we're ready to use these now. Put these here. 2 new friends. We got the... We'll just pretend like they're industrial walls. But they're secretly space walls. Space wall 1. Definitely don't have a thumbnail for this yet. Use that one, and we'll say that these are part of... Where is... Oh, I called them warehouse. Okay, whatever. That's the tag behind the scenes to make these things appear. Wall. Sure. Space wall. So I'm going to make a single wide and I'll make a double wide and see how this looks. It's going to be with bricks. It's going to look... I mean, that's actually like almost viable. Like, I want a new one. I don't want other shit in there. So... Ooh, oh, we need to restart. Computer's feeling it. Space wall. Boom, boom, boom. Get rid of the middle one. And now I was gonna make a single wide, right? Like this. And I'll put the door one here. It also kind of feels like an extremely tall subway or something. Let's fix the lighting. It's gonna... Unless I ray trace the sun, this angle's never gonna look right. That's kind of a cool angle. It needs to be longer. That's fine. Ooh. I made a skate park. I have a skateboarder in this game. We took it out because it's like kind of collided with a bunch of other systems that didn't work so well, so I had to take it out. But we have a physics vehicle pawn skateboarder. Now, yeah, one of the questions is this, right? Like, how is this? So this is a single wide with the roof, and you know, when I design the UVs, at least, it's like you almost never see this or that. But then unless we do the double wide now, what do we see out of this piece? Do the same set but twice as wide. Actually, I could connect them. Yeah, I should make that. I should probably make something that connects that. Would a regular wall work for that? I don't know. What's it look like if I corner that? No, that doesn't work out. That doesn't work if I do this. Not quite. I mean, who's to say? But it doesn't quite look right. I have to think of something a little better. But like, yeah, what's the double wide look like here? So you still, okay, so you will eventually see it on like a double, right? You would see the ceiling panels here. So, and you would see it on this side. So they definitely have to be, if I just divide it up by 100 chunks and then like inset them, it will be fine. If I divide it, if I decide to go into squares, which I definitely will. Yeah, okay, I know how to design that. So here's like our double wide kind of Star Wars-y looking hallway. I mean, I kind of knew this would work out fine. One of the questions is turning it though. You'd have to have like kind of like a, you just take this piece and turn it or cut it and have like a little gable roof intersection, because there's otherwise it's like this, like. So 90s are not so bad actually. Like, can you go into a single hallway? How's that gonna look if I turn this into a single? You just end up with an open face. That's cappable though. I can just basically take this and spin it, and then you have add a cap. 90 degrees are fine. That like Star Warsy look is like definitely like on a 45 or 30. There's gonna be something that maths out where 45 very likely. If I spin this at a 45 and I make like a 45 piece, that ends up like perfectly back on the world grid like here, something like that. I don't know. Well, for the straights and the turns, we're okay for now. It's about just making sure I design out the UVs correctly, so it looks like it's like meant to intersect like this. The double wide's the way for sure. Single's like kind of like a weird tall sewer. I guess this works okay too. It feels a little too tall for like a spaceship. Like, I kind of almost wanted to go with the 300s. But I lose a lot of like design real estate here. It feels too tall. I think this probably, I think it probably would have been okay with a 300 set. It's not too late, but let me see what this looks like if I cap this out completely with these. I'll put one of these here. And drop some lights in here. One sec. I'll just do it from here. I don't have any like space. These are like kind of them. It's really more like this, to be honest. It's like, that's kind of more appropriate. Like, these look right, but they're not going to hit the ceiling. I'll just use this. This is fine. I changed it to shift. How close am I to that? Is that middle? It's not middle. So here's mid. Let's put it right in the middle. That's the middle. So middle in the second wide, given this beam width, will not do anything here. So let's line it up with, say, this door. Roughly like that. I mean, these aren't the materials. They're going to be like super mirrored. Whoa. These are scaled too high. Are we going to freak out if I reach? Okay, we're good. Okay. Ray tracing enabled. I'm an editor, so I can just click these out. I should probably use like one of these shiny boys. Forgot about that. There's the flickering. Now it is flickering. This is a DirectX 12 thing. Oh yeah. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That's all I can say about that. That's just sometimes, like, I'll turn this off, turn it back on, and it won't do that. But anyway, that's a softer shadow. It's a tall doorway. It's like really tall. But the 300 is going to be real short. So And this won't be a raw opening. We'll have like an actual trimmed out space door for it. I think it feels too tall, but I'm gonna stick with it. And to be honest, the brick version of it like kind of fits fine in the industrial set too. Like if I just broke this up with like pipes or anything, it'd be like, yeah, sure. Like it's like kind of like industrial sewer kind of thing looking. Industrial tunnel, like industrial basement kind of vibe. And this just needs like a bit of blue underside from this. This is always tricky, the opacity, how you want to do this one, but I basically exposed like what I consider all the relevant, you know, Unreal Engine blueprint, sky, environment material. Like it's all basically in these two tabs. There's a couple more, but like this is most of them. It doesn't handle all the ray tracing stuff now. There's like a ton more things for ray tracing, but it's more on the performance side than it is on the how it actually looks. This is open, huh? You know, spaceships I feel like have a little bit like claustrophobia in it. This doesn't. This feels like a big wide sewer, and maybe this one is better. Like, let me stick a light up here. I want to grab this. Feels too tall. I don't know. Do you see the potential using Cinetracer for screen space GI feature in... Oh yeah, fuck yeah, definitely. I'm gonna upgrade right into 2324 probably after this update that I push out to the old user base. Because I have a suspicion that this will still be a little bit... I don't know. The Mac users are having kind of trouble right now with the current build, and I have no idea why. I know for... I thought it would work for Catalina based on reasons I can't talk about, but like I thought that Catalina worked, but it doesn't for some people. But it's hard to say. Catalina is just a new thing out in the world. So point being, yeah, I'm gonna update this into 2324 and just kind of rebuild it. I'm not upgrading that computer to Catalina though. The Mac Pros apparently are coming out soon, so I'm gonna get a Mac Pro. That can be the Catalina machine, the guinea pig, and then I'll build it from there. So, but I need to get into like the latest versions in case they like made concessions and updates for Catalina. So the next question, so this is fine. I think it's a little tall for a spaceship. It doesn't give like, it's just like a big spaceship vibe. The next thing is that like, I think that I need to design out how these trims work, and then this wall is the trim too. And like, I think this kind of like hard right angle faceted look works for like metal paneling, but it has kind of like a rounder, like Apple look when it's, when it comes to the trims. Like things are more rounded, like a Stormtrooper helmet, right? Like the language is not like hard edges like this, unless it's just paneling. So I was kind of doing the trims, like the wall trim opening. It's a little challenging to figure out what the bridge piece looks like from here, like what this is going to be. That turning off the light didn't help. Okay, that's still on. Because then it comes to here. Trimming them together is kind of hard. Like it's not. It's just like it's an extra piece, so it's kind of weird. But it's kind of like capping this. Like you don't really want to see this hard edge on the side. There would be like a trim that's kind of like rounder, I think. And you know, these would be beveled and just more like the edges are smooth, even if you have this kind of faceted look. So it's just kind of like some arting. But I like this kind of like beginning of a tunnel vibe, and it wouldn't be that much. You know, you can imagine if this closed at the top, you'd still have a flat floor, but you'd have like, you know, you'd have like a tube, you'd have like a subway tube that you're running around in. So this is the first time I'm doing it. This is the first time where the interior is like this much into the set too. And the backside is basically kind of not meant to be seen too much. It's like I haven't really thought out like exactly how this transitions into a, well, I guess I can just start grabbing the regular walls. Nope. Yes. So why is this? Why is this like that? Let me go outside for a second. So we haven't completely solved this Rubik's Cube here. Ah, yes. Okay, that's gonna happen too. Yeah, I haven't done like one of these. That's actually really fine. That looks completely fine. This is like in Star Wars where you would get mugged, as in this closet. And so what about what are we looking at? Oh yeah, making like a room. So if there's like a, oops, there's two in there now. If this is a room and it's made out of like regular walls, how does that interface with like a would-be hallway? Like how many pieces do I built that too close to the other side? Like if this is the hallway now, what does this look like here? Are those you fighting now? These are fighting for the same space. Like there's no need to do that one. Okay, so this is what it looks like if this is the hallway and you walk into like the whatever. You're using the back of this wall for the interior. So this needs to get like designed like it was the interior of a, I think these ceilings are too tall for like a spaceship. You know what I mean? Like you're not walking, that's too tall. Like they should be more like, it's a tall spaceship, or it's I can just leave these static meshes and be like, they're part of the industrial set, you know, go for it. But I think if we're like going for like a spaceship vibe, they're just too tall. Like it doesn't feel claustrophobic enough. What happens if you mix these? Okay, you get that. Interiors always work out the way that this snapping system is, so like that's kind of like the point. The you end up with kind of weird convex interior corners, and the edges, actually the exteriors are fine too, but the interiors, when you corner them like this, they look good, and that's like kind of like the most important part, I think, because mostly you care about shooting inside of rooms, not the exterior of a building's not always like so important. I guess it's fine. I just need to consider that this is like this is like the interior of the spaceship room. Is there an option to import objects? Not yet, no. Not yet. It's possible, but I haven't done it. My question to people that ask that, what format are you looking to import, and from what program? Just collecting data on that one. So I need the openings. I need to block out the opening and feel okay about that design. So it's going to be like this, extruded on normal, out 40, and then beveled. And I don't really feel that confident about that, actually. And then it's like, what is... And then I don't know how to finish it, though. Like, how it goes all the way around. Or do you just leave it like this, and I model this so that this could be the face that you see? It's kind of like with the roofs, like, it's kind of like with these. I'll do it with these pieces and the slopies. Yeah, these guys. That's the loadout. I can build a whole house with this. Like, if you do this... I didn't make the mirrored version. I don't think I'm ever going to, because you can just do this. It's kind of like you see this part here, which is the same as this. Like, you're seeing that. And I don't really model it so it's meant to be seen. You're supposed to cap it like this. And this has like the finish of it that's coming out. It's kind of like the same thing here for that, but it becomes a wall. That's the first time I would have like an... And actually, that's completely wrong. This is a wall to the system. I tell the system that this is a wall, and it snaps in correctly. It's the same thing here, except it's like half of the wall on this side. So it's kind of like... It's the same exact idea for capping that, is how does this cap design-wise? And then that same cap design language happens here. And what is that? So that's kind of that's like the next one. And then it's like putting Substance Painter stuff on it and hard opsing it or whatever. I'll probably do it in ZBrush. I don't know. But that already got it out of my system. I just wanted to kind of see what this would be like in there. Just getting like more and more adventurous with these pieces. So the question is then, the wall. We like started to do it. I could basically take this, cut it at 20, extrude these. That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna take this one, copy paste, hide that one, hide this one. So solo into this. Faces. So that's open now. Should I just open these and cap them after? What am I about to do to this? I'm about to extrude it out. I don't think it matters. So let's make it the right width to start, and then I can extrude out from there. Like I don't want to start doing this at the wrong width. So this is we're gonna make this 20. So tab 1, selecting through, and then this is like GX like negative 0.8. Wrong way. 0.8. Okay, I don't know how to do it. I'll just do it this way. GX control. So this is 20 now. Now it's a wall. The width of a default wall. We can model out from there. UV's got broken. So I think the thought was to do this on extrude normal. It could also just be these and not that piece, and then you kind of want to model it so it's like one of these is clearly like on top of the other one versus them all being like in all flush like that. But if we extrude on normal, I don't know if we're scaled correctly because these tools don't work at bad scale. No, we're good. Negative 0.2, negative 0.4. 0.4 is going to eat a lot into the floor. 20 is kind of like, try 20 to start. Does this go flat or does this go into the ceiling? Like what is this trim piece? I don't know, I gotta look at it like in context. This would go to here. I don't know how to get this angle to here though. It looks like it could be that. I guess I could extrude this out. Kind of just see where we end up. Nah, it's like somewhere in between. I could just do that and just, I don't know how to do like planar cuts like here, like how to cut this like here. I don't know how to just like that very easily. I can eyeball this snap. I could eyeball it. I'm just gonna do that for now. How about that? It's fine because like that piece goes into the ground. It doesn't matter so much. It's more about here. Is it like do I flat it and then extrude across all the way back to the origin? But then it's almost the same thing. Like I'll just extrude it out a little bit for now. So as long as it doesn't go past here, the floor will eat it. Basically, you won't see that. Okay, so that's kind of a stinky way of doing it. Oh, and there's no faces on that side. This is pretty bad. And then I would like bevel this and like detail it and do panels out of it. Let me put faces on this thing. Still quads. Something feels very wrong here. It's just the UV though. I think we're actually fine. Yeah, we're fine. Oops. And I'll figure out I could probably like Boolean a square off of it or something like that. I don't really know the best way about cutting that off flat perfectly, but it looks like the way that I modeled the house trim ending actually. It just doesn't have like the sci-fi part of it, which would be nice to keep procedural, which I know there's like a Boolean. Can you like select edges and procedurally Boolean here? Something like that? Or is it going to Boolean the whole thing? You do edge weighting. I could take all the, I think that's how that works. Let me try this. So you do, okay, so this piece is kind of good too. I'm going to copy and paste it and do a separate one. So kind of experiment on this. Solo it. So you can edge bevel weight them. That's what happens, right? You do all the edges. That's all the edges. And I do what's it called? It's like something weight. Bevel edges, big bevel weight. Edge crease, edge bevel weight. Let's just type it. 0. Probably means that it doesn't bevel at all. And then I would want to procedurally bevel. I don't really care about that face all that much, actually. Or that edge. These I care about, though. This is hard to see. So I'm going to try to use the bevel modifier so I don't have to bake this in there. One step towards the Houdini. Right? And then we do bevel weight 1, which it's now 1. Shows up as blue. So then if I take this piece, you have to be an object, I think, to do modifiers. Bevel. Bevel. Okay. So we want to make sure it's using the weights. I don't know if it is. Harden, mark sharp, mark seams, loop chamfer, profile, materials, limit, weight. There it is. Offset, depth, percent, new, affected, and then miters, the spread, and the profile, and the width. Here it is. Okay. So 0.02, that's nice. So we're doing a 0.02 bevel, but only on the faces we're essentially only on the faces that I've allowed them on. So this is now procedural, this beveling, so I can just come back and like now the UVing though is like, I don't know, is there a way of like procedurally fixing the UVs, like, or maybe if I had UV'd that before I beveled it, this operator would keep that correct. That's like the Houdini thing. It's like you can do all these like unwrapping stuff procedurally too. Maybe if I, because this is what HardOps is doing behind the scenes, is it's like making like, it's doing all of these for you and managing them and putting them on the right orders and stuff, because the bevel stack matters, and it'll go and flag all the edges for you and then do the booleans with bevels inside of them and nest them and all that stuff. I guess we'll just look at it in, like, is that going to cap it? And do I do that for the door too? What was the idea with the door with then? Yeah, let me look at the door. It's not very, actually, let me look at the reference. How is this going down? It's more like hard edge for that. Like, that's the idea. It's like it's a normal extrude out. Theirs has like this kind of like extra push out here, and then they do straighten it down, and it just goes right into the ceiling. Okay, yeah, we're gonna do that too. We're gonna do that. So let me go back. It's more like it comes out, but then goes like down. It doesn't go straight into it. It turns down at a certain point, which this is similar. I think that's similar. What happened to the door? I'm in ISO. No, I see the mannequin. Where's the door? That's the door piece. So it's possible once I cut that off correctly, I'll just commit the bevel. It's just a single bevel. It is kind of hard to get it back though. If I put that bevel in there, like removing it is hard. I would just make the shape again. It's like such a pain in the ass. So the question is like applying this design to this is I extrude this out. $20, and then I extrude that piece out on this way and possibly this way. And it's like this big fat box bevel thing. I don't know if that's the move. But I'm going to try it though. So what is it? It's this one. Copy paste. We'll work on that copy. So we are transformed and safe to start doing weird bevel things or extrude things. So we're gonna edit this one, this. There's no faces here, or something super weird happened there. What is this? Did I just do that? Did I just do that to this piece? I did. That was me by accident. Okay. So we're still at scale 1, and we're gonna extrude on normal with a perfect offset, or with offset, or whatever it's called. Offset even, -0.2 is a lot. It's a whole lot. Then this border we made, we're still quads. And do I have it here too? Is there a face inside of a face here? Are those no, those are new polygons, right? We're moving into negative. And then if I extrude those on normal 0.2 and then we bevel procedurally the edge, that's kind of the... Whew, that's not it. That's super not it. What's this? Extrude along normals. Maybe we don't do both sides at once. It can't handle that. It doesn't like this. Let's do just this side first. It's still gonna need cleanup though, but 0.2. Now that was just a regular extrude. What's up with this? Where's extrude along normal? There we go. Negative 0.2, even offset. And then this, I'll just do that same extrude thing. And this is just, these are just flat, so it's not that big a deal. So that kind of becomes like the beginning, like a super simple door trim that's like in the same style of this trim if I bevel the edge of it. And then we care about this interior, this trim frame is basically what we've made. And I kind of feel like it's a separate mesh than this, which is, I think I'm safe to start deleting this because we still have the other one and this one lives inside of it. So I can delete all the faces that aren't this kind of entranceway we just made here. This goes away. Okay, I'm gonna have to clean that up. This UV is kind of fucking me up a little bit. I can't see what's going on here. So what's missing? We don't ever see that too much, but I'm gonna fill it in anyway, because I don't put out open face meshes because I want this all to work in chaos eventually. And voxel, like if voxel remeshing ever becomes a thing like at runtime, I'm there for it. Probably not gonna happen. Oh, we made other funny legs. We've made shorter funny legs. Shoes. Still quads, right? We can still ZBrush this thing later if we have to. Go 3D model the stuff into it. So, there's our bevel inset piece. It's not final yet, but same design language. And we'd extrude this piece out here, just because I don't know how to 3D model things, so I'm just gonna do this. It's too much. It's gonna... It's fine. And then I want to do the procedural bevels. So we're scaled, tab to A. We're going to set all of the bevel weights to, where'd you go? Bevel weight. Bevel, edge bevel weight. You can go negative. What does that do? It's just going to bevel it the other direction. That's interesting. And then I can grab, can I get this whole loop? Pretty much got that. And this, nope, but not those actually. Will those go open? So it's those, that's perfect. That was easy. Those are the bevel targets. I don't know how you would do that in Houdini, how you would ask for these edges. I'm sure there's a way. I don't know how I would have made that selection procedurally. You could do it by angle. It's like these are 90 degrees, like edges that have two faces with 90 degrees. That would also have selected these then, and the bottom ones. I don't know how you would select this. You can also have selections by hand. Actually, that can be a node too. It doesn't have to. Not everything has to be procedural. You can make like certain things that are. You just make that selection itself. Like those faces get numbered, or those edges get numbers in the mesh, and you just look for them. You just couldn't change like how many segments are in there. That would throw it off, I think. So we add the bevel, and we do weight, and we do 0.02. And so we have like kind of that insert now. And this would be the low poly, and then into this you would ZBrush these. Like you would this goes in the game, but then you ZBrush them and paint all like the normal detail back into it and stuff. But those are the inserts into it, which is they're kind of weird looking, but they're kind of cool too. I might just give them like auto UVs and stick them in the game though. Look at those real quick. Where's the wall? There it is. Yeah. So those are like the current solution. But then like, you know, then you don't see these right angle walls, you know, like you see this, you get this bevel and you get the bevel there. And on the flip side, you get the bevel, right? So it changes the design language to you seeing this smooth thing. And then depending on how you design the high poly version of it, it could look much different, right? It'd be like much smoother. But that's kind of the solution. And I need to chop these off at the floor. They're just sticking into the floor for now, but I'm going to go put these in and kind of look at them. This trim one is a little bit weird. It's a wall. It's kind of a weird one. It's also not placed correctly. It needs to go over 10. G, X, 0.1, negative 0.1. It's like that. But it still works because it has to have half of it there. Yeah, kind of like our first sci-fi set. Group node in H. Group node in H. Do you use Blender now? You were a Cinema in Redshift, right? This was a while ago. Let's bring these in. So, dual static mesh is gonna start messing things up as I do this for this set. So these pivoted correctly. That one's not. This one's fine. Let's look at positive XY. Interior is facing us, and you're probably centered correctly. I don't know. We'll find out. Oh, I should UV it. Ugh. Okay, let's just UV this real quick. Anytime I don't UV it, I can't look at it in game. It's like I can't assess if it's like right. It's just too confusing. So this is a candidate for if the auto UVs would work. That would be great. Oh, can you UV this at all? Actually, because it has this procedural thing on it. Huh, I will find out. So what's this gonna do? Smart UV blah 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 blah. Not that one. It's gonna UV it like the bevel's not there, right? And then does the bevel modifier do it correctly on export? We'll find out. That's fine for now. It's not laid out how I want, but I think the bevel modifier is like, it doesn't like not have a UV, and it doesn't. It is stretching it kind of weird. But I can always just commit the bevel, and save the procedural version later. And what did I ISO? Yeah, so we'll do the same thing to this one. It's fine. And we got orienting and stuff to do, but we also have ZBrushing to do to it. Alright, so those are the two new things. This is technically a wall to have it snap in, and this is just going to be an extra static mesh within this wall piece. Like I would never give this wall raw open, and we went overboard with how it's. This is wrong here. This is going to Z-fight the back wall, which you don't want. We want this to be 10 centimeters inside of it. Like this comes back. Is that right? Really? Like, I haven't made a piece like this yet. Like this needs to not leave this border. Okay, hold on. Let me fix this. This can. This can't. This can't leave. This can't move past 0. How badly is that going to screw this up? If I do GY control back. Okay, we didn't select everything. I think I did there. GY control 10 back. It can't leave the box, or else it'll overlap is what's going to happen. I'm just going to leave the UVs a little bit funky like that. That's actually the shape. Okay, I'm glad I caught that. Okay, we didn't ISO, we just hid things. Okay, so now these are, well, this one's ready. The other one's not pivoted correctly, but if it wasn't in the right space, I might not have caught that you can actually push through. This one does. This one can, because it's not actually modular. You don't add it yourself. It's just going to be part of the wall. So this is for type 2. I don't really do it. I haven't done this yet, but type 2 part 2. It's getting to be too long of a name. This is going to be weird. But it's the second part within that one. So this is a wall, and I can't do that with these guys here. I need to figure this out. So this is a wall. So I'm going to, let's do origin to geometry. Oh, I don't have that as a thing. I guess I will do it this way. Origin to geometry. That's an awkward place for it, but RZ negative 90? It's I always get it wrong, it's 90. And I got it wrong again. So RZ. Well, now it's 180. That one's easy. So it's gonna face into positive XY but centered on, we all fucked up in here. Okay, so this will get zeroed on Y. Where's the transform? I don't need to be in UV space anymore. UV world. On Y it's 0 on position, but what? How is this 0? How is this position 0? If that's its origin. No, there it goes. Okay, it wasn't. So now it's centered that way. Where's XY? XY is this way. So this needs to come back to there, but then we're going to move the origin to here. I have the hotkeys for this. Origin to cursor. Like that. That's a wall. And I have to place the orientation correctly. And you need it, you technically need the mirror version to do the other side. That's the way that the walls are gonna snap. It would make sense to make this like double wide, like on Y twice the width. I might do that after proving if this works or not. Okay. Yeah, these pieces are weird. As you get like weirder and weirder, the snapping system becomes more convoluted. It's like super simple when it's, I guess it's technically a type 3. It's really simple when it's all cubes, but then as soon as you make it like circles and extrusions and like variation design decisions, it gets like much trickier for me at least to see where it's actually supposed to snap together. Meshes, yeah. So we'll bring in those. We got 2 new ones. One's a new class and one's part of the second class. Those 2, import all. They look fine. The collisions will just go complex for now. They're not all that expensive. This one. My computer's kind of slow right now. Okay, so let's make the new class one. That's the annoying part. So this will become wall 06. Only has 1. It's set up for 1. It's going to have the brick material on it. We haven't made our space trims yet. I don't know if I'm going to either. This is kind of just like my last sanity check for or stress test for the snapping system. Okay, there it goes. That should be it for a left-sided 400 wall. Now your snapping is 400, 400, 400. I think that's still correct, actually. So this is the new one. And slow. Let's add 06 to the database, and then I'll add the frame to the other one. So this is 06, and this is space wall trim. I don't have a name for this thing yet. I don't know what you call it. The picture should make it more clear, and it's warehouse for that. So that'll be in there, and then we got to go edit 05 and add that new mesh into it, and it's gonna kind of freak out the placing system where it's swapping the mesh only on that one. So it's gonna look kind of weird for a second. Where is I'll just pull it in from here. Fort, meshes. Here's the door frame. Kind of weird. Kind of weird door frame. I'll put bricks on it just for fun. So let's see. Let's put this material. It's populating the whole content browser now with the thumbnails, so we are pretty frozen. I think I've like eaten up all like the memory from playing that game or something like that. Something's really, really, really off. Like my computer's not usually this slow at all. But I'll test this and we'll see. So we have a new wall piece and we have a frame in that one, and we want to see if like the edges feel better. Because they were real raw, like right angle-y looking things before. Which we don't want to have too much of that. Okay. Warehouse. I'll take like a regular wall, space wall, space wall, space trim. So let's do a single way. 3 is enough. There's no need for a regular wall just yet, so we'll do the doorway into the sides. Flip it. I'll put a doorway there too. Like that. So the doorway with the trims them. Oh yeah, that covers it. Like if those were modeled out all nicely, or not textured basically, because like this is the low poly I'm, you know, probably gonna do. I could put like, you know, pipes and stuff in it later. But yeah, that covers the transitions, and it kind of goes like right angled into it, whereas like the other one's kind of like straight into 45s into the floor. The other one's kind of like 90 into it. Kind of weird double trim at the top, but it's at least consistent. And then we can only trim the left side at the moment. Or will this work flipped over here? I don't... Oh no, it will. Okay, never mind. That will work. Let's go do the other side too. Like this. Because for now it's symmetrical. Yeah, okay, cool. So this corner will always be exposed like that, but has to be. But it covers the transition, right? That this is like the trim wall piece. Right, and the same language is the same language here is here. They would match, so that we could put like the Star Wars panel there. We could even cut into it halfway, something like that. So that the panels live like in between each wall, like you'll have it incomplete. And then, so like, what's a good test for this one? This would be good to put like that there. Nope. We don't have the convex corner solved. Probably not going to do that ever, actually. I don't care. That's just always going to be like that for now. Let's roof it, because like you don't really want to see that part sticking out. You will from the sides, but within this set, the edges of the set are always going to be a little funny. Look at that. Yeah, so you don't, these trims are super like simplified way of doing it. Learning some Houdini group node. Oh, the group node. Oh, you've been doing Houdini. Okay, nice. Group node does that parametric selection of primitives. Okay. Well, you can help guide me through it when I start doing it and don't know how to do like like anything. That makes sense because you were a Cinema before. Or you probably still core Cinema, but Cinema 4D, if you're doing Espresso, I think leads directly into Houdini. I know a lot of like disgruntled Cinema 4D users who are like, I just use Houdini now. Like, Cinema's not evolving fast enough. They're too busy making millions of dollars being the DCC for every single television network in the world to be Houdini. Dead ends both ways. Uh-oh. Let's do it. Alright. Dead end sewer. Okay, that's kind of gross. I will make a cap for that at some point. But this makes it, as soon as you're inside of it, it becomes kind of seamless. Kind of, not great, but like, that's always a little bit, decals and such and dressing would help that out quite a bit. But the single tunnel, it's a thought, right? So it's kind of like, and those are the trims. This trim comes for free. This one you got to know to put in there, right? Or else, if you get rid of those, it's not so bad, but you lose that doesn't look so good. Like these are kind of like raw transitions. It's much nicer to have the. I lost it. Where'd it go? this, that one. Kind of wonky to place, but and it helps keep it like seamless. The tops are still kind of like deading into like very hard angles. But if they weren't brick and metal, if they were like something that made a little bit more sense, I think it wouldn't call attention to itself as much here. Like this. Okay, that was kind of the experiment that I wanted to see. Was just going a little bit more, just coming off of the grid a tiny bit more. And the rest of it to actually make it a Star Wars thing would be like all in the high poly bakes and the substance painting of it. It's not like anymore. I think like the main problem is solved with that. So this doesn't, well, I mean, how bad is this? Let me see how this feels. This all of a sudden feels like so like Doom. It's like a super like square. But yeah, it's cool. This is like a cool variation just to try. That's what I like about this system. It's like it's very rigid in its placement, but like that rigidity and that framework gives me like a framework to experiment with this, right? So like within the system, I can just go nuts. And at this point, then it becomes like purely art. It's like whatever paneling I want to put in there, whatever lights I put in the ceiling part. There is a bit of a tech art dance to make the ceiling panels work for everything, but I'm pretty sure if I just go into 100 by 100 inset cubes, that they'll always show. They won't emit light, but they'll be there, and you could just, I guess, stick like an invisible light in there or something. Be interesting to shoot a trash can in here, wouldn't it? I guess I could make this. This isn't really doing the thing if I don't make the Star Wars material for it. But oh, that's that weak sauce right there. We gotta turn it up. Boom. One, two, three. And stop. I could try something I haven't done yet is like where you have an incomplete tile. There's kind of no point. Oh, I like this pipe. I like this pipe. I like that pipe. Oh, I like it. Oh yeah, okay. What if I put a pipe in it, huh? How? Where? So like, where's the ref? These come out. It's. Oh, it kind of seems like it kind of. All these programs have such different hotkeys. It's kind of like it's got an interesting idea. It kind of it goes like right here, and it seems that transition. I'm gonna put the pipe in there. See how that looks. I've also haven't done detailing at that level. I could have put. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do some like static mesh details. That's always gonna make corners kind of tricky because they're just gonna like die there. But normal level design, you just make the corner trim for the pipe to turn the corner. I've forgotten every hotkey. It's Shift A. We're gonna make a cylinder. RY90. That's too many things. You lose proceduralism instantly, so we're gonna do this again. Cube. That's not what we want. Cylinder. 8. Radius. 0.2. Yeah, that's pretty good. Depth. 4. RY90. And that's kind of like placed, well, with the trim there, it's kind of hard to see, but I think it's placed right at and then up so it doesn't go into the floor. I gotta hide this trim for a second. It was kind of like here. It's like it's kind of like in the floor a little bit. Is that allowed? Yeah, because you can't really tell. Be like that. For the actual flat piece, which is somewhere here. That's the floor. That's the ceiling. That one. So for this piece, I'll hide the second one. It's kind of like that. Now there's like their floor texture really has like a grate. And I think there's even geometry that holds, yeah, there's like a more of a retaining wall. It just comes in even more. It's just completely different proportions. So like really it's like there's even more geometry that would be like here. It's gonna hold that there. C4D pants became, yeah, full-time Houdini. Yeah, that's very, you sound like a Cinema 4D user. That's like the consensus. If you're using it for like, you know, more like feature film VFX type of content. If you're doing MoGraph, I don't think that sentiment is there at all. So as it is, it's just going to be like a cylinder on the floor. It doesn't have like this kind of like inner detail because it's not inner. It's like the thing that you actually walk up against. In this case, they put these kind of like mouse traps. These look like New York City rat bait boxes. I'm sure that they're more like electrical conduit. It's like a road system at that point. So theirs has like another system here that's like, I guess I could do that. Then I'd have to add that to the other piece. It's not too hard though. You just basically cut it off right there in half and create the ending boxes of it. I kind of wanted that. I kind of want that. I was thinking about having like those kind of details that in the wall you'd have to cut them off, and they kind of just gives us like more quote-unquote free details. So let me do like a pipe above the door. I put the door right there, didn't I? I didn't give myself like much room to... let's duplicate this one. And we're going to move it GX4. So... yeah, I didn't give myself too much room here. And then I put that big old bevel in it. So it's kind of... but like... the fun part for these ones is like I can dress them like crazy too. Like I can have like pipes coming down and like you just get that in there. That's the design of it. And I think eventually that's like the strength of the system is to like build out like fully art directed ones. They look incredible. Like even if this turns into like a more of a virtual production suite where people are just using these sets for like virtual backgrounds when they're shooting, it's like, oh, we definitely want to dress them as far as you can. Have like particle, I could have the walls even have particles like shooting out smoke and stuff or steam. You know, like each piece I can spend like a day on, and because it's so modular and reusable, it's like it's worth that. Whereas in my other system, that would have taken too much time. Like I kind of like this. This is more like Aliens, where it's like the aliens are like in the upper panels and there's like this kind of like catwalk. Right, like there's something below that clearly, like there's lights below it, and that's like where the aliens are running around. This is Star Wars is more like, like it's just like solid, like, you know, black, and it's just like right angle walls. So I'm kind of like jumping all over, but I'm kind of this implies a lot more like depth into this space. Like you could even use like a shader under this that has like parallax that would look like when you look down, it would look like it was a room down there. Whereas the Star Wars one just goes like right into it. There's no detailing. So maybe I won't do this floor one, but I kind of wanted to put like a pipe across the whole thing. So I do need the trim back here. I can move it off axis. I'll be okay. GX4. Right. So what? I was thinking about putting like a pipe going through. The floor pipe I'm not in as doesn't look as good anymore. I need to like hide it here, but then see on the other one. I kind of wish I went 16 subdivs on this thing now, because I think you are at like this angle going to be like, even if I smooth it, I can obviously just redo that. There it is. So this procedural bevel thing worked out, I think. Like it exported it fine, I think. So I can kind of leave that sort of procedural. I can't change it in Unreal Engine like you could with like a Houdini digital asset, but So I've kind of left the Star Wars thing where like I'm thinking more like Aliens, where like we'd have like pipes, right? And these are more like there's like panel, like this would just be all texture here. Like this is flat no matter what, unless we put like a big box in it or something like that. And I saw in the way that Clinton Decagon guys did the subway, is you like have these big spline mesh. Like this could be like a spline mesh if we were doing blueprints, and then you can tell it like the variations, like how, like I don't exactly know. I know it's like basically like it's a spline that has an array of like elements that you spawn along it, and then you can kind of like change like what boxes and what variations happen along it. So you can make like a couple variations of these and have it like switch back and forth. And that's very like Houdini-y within the engine. It's not like a runtime tool, but... So I'm gonna make like a smaller one from here. This is always in the way. Did I paste this one yet? Is this even selected? There it is. Okay, so we'll do like here. Now, I don't know how you scale on just... How do I scale it just this way without a gizmo? I don't really know what that is. That's, is it scale shift S? Like S, shift X? Is just on this axis like that? Is that how this works? Right, and if they're straight mechanical pipes, we're okay with this. And if they're cables, we'd arc them. Not that confident about lighting up splines though. I kind of want to just do stuff like details like this. Do it from this side too. Yeah, so we've lost our opportunity for like panels. Let me stick a cube in here though real quick. Shift A, cube. So this is stuff that can come off grid. Like this is just like pure set deck at this point. I don't need this whole back face probably. We'll make sure it doesn't come in there. Doesn't work. It's even cool that the pipe kind of comes through it actually. I kind of like that. I kind of would like these to repeat almost. Right, and then we can like just substance painter all of these to make them look nice at some point. How many textures is that? Does that all live in this one piece, this whole thing? Like this is like, now I guess the way it is like this piece is always like the modular like base of it, and then you make kind of like variations, and maybe all of these get substance painted together, and they should probably all just be a trim sheet, right? Like basically like make a trim sheet that's like pipe and boxes and stuff, and then you can make as many of these mesh variations as long as they pull from that texture sheet. It's not like each variation is like an extra set of like 4K textures or whatever, 2K textures would be like the performant way. I think this wants to be like inside of it. So what's that gonna look like if I keep... You're gonna see this box over and over again though. It's like, kind of big. Like it calls attention like to itself like a little bit too much. Oh, its pivots there. It's kind of weird. And then, so I do want to commit this into the, I want to see it. I haven't made like modular pieces like this yet for the system. So basically just cut them in half at that point, and that would be like the variation for that. Again, should probably be like trims, so they would all be the same material. Yeah, I do want to see that. I'm gonna try that. So let's just export this stuff. So is this UV though? Is this the UV'd one? These aren't UV'd, so I'll just keep them world grid textures for now. So this, that, and this one, that's the new wall 1, I think is what it was called. Export FBX. It's wall 102. We'll call this the second one. Not yet. What time is it? In like an hour. In like an hour you can play, okay? I'll be done at that point. And so let me...
Dad, that looks so colorful.
It is, yeah. You like the rainbow texture. It's the UV texture.
I like the rainbow.
Pipes 01.
I love the rainbow every day.
That's cool.
And Dad, why is you between your other toys?
I rearranged him, you know? I gotta change it up every once in a while. Nope. So these are the originals. That didn't work. Where are these? What's up?
One of your toys have blue hair.
There they are. And so we don't do the box. Or maybe I put the box like over there. Why are there two of these? Oh, because we have to hide the originals. There they are. Put that there. And just cut these all in half. What's up, Angel?
Angel?
Mm-hmm.
What's Angel?
Transform. 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 I kind of want to make these all one mesh. Is that a problem?
Hey
Maybe
Dad,
an issue? Join.
do you know Darth Vader?
I do know Darth Vader. What a well-timed comment.
And Dad, I know I love the colors. But I don't just love the dark colors or the lightish. I only red, the pink. I only like the red, the pink, the orange, and the purple, and also
That worked.
dark purple.
Those are the only colors you like out of here?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I don't like the two dark colors.
Fair enough. There are no light colors without dark colors, though.
But I see
Shit. Yeah, there it is. Those need like end caps and whatnot, but I just want to see how this looks.
I see darkest green.
I'm gonna end cap them right here. I'll just do this. They should be meshes. Then I can reuse them, but I'm just gonna make them myself for now. I think I could do this all at once too.
And
This,
these are my favorite
this.
colors too. See? Pink and red are my favorite
We need the trim in
colors.
here. I need the trim.
Pink and red are my favorite colors, Dad. See?
Those two? Well, that's why we got those. Yoshi.
And Bomb Bomb.
Yeah, Pom Pom. Okay, so these kind of like fight into the door. That's what I was worried about.
This red toy.
Maybe I'll have this like right angle up or something. I'll pull this one back. Okay, now we've made them all the same mesh. Kind of want this to like look into there. I'll just leave that one like that. And we can pipe these forever as long as they seam together. That's like what this the second experiment is. So, those are just two meshes now. We're not going to join them. I'll just export them together. Now that's possibly a mistake because I don't know how. If it's, I think it will combine them. I think I had default combine. So this is the wall type 2, O2, but not part 2. O3 is like the trim cap and selected only. And yeah, so let's see how those, adding like those like static mesh details into this kind of changes things up. Transform. Yes, yes. Did she ask what's an angel? I didn't hear that. So I'm gonna re-import this from a new file. We could also bring it in as a separate mesh. I don't really feel like swapping anything out though. I'll just delete it if this doesn't work. So this is wall type 1 O2. Reloaded. It has new materials on it. Okay, well. The materials are gonna get kind of messed up, and I'll re-import this one. New file. It did combine them though. This is wall type 202. Names would be good at this point. That would be. Yeah, and I left a world grid material on it. Oops. Okay, so I think this is kind of. I mean, they're just cylinders on there, but still, I want to see how this looks. Space walls. The space walls.
Space walls?
Yes, the space walls. Look at all this glorious detail. Oh, they're green still. Damn it. Well, that's kind of cool, actually. I'll leave it. Whatever. But I forgot I gotta fix that. Oh, it's cool. I like it. I would need the corner would need to have the pipe turn on it too. Of course. And it's you probably just have like 2 or 3 variations of it with like different, so they're not all the same. Right? If you just had like one or 3, like 3 of these that are all the same trim sheet and just kind of like different arting of them, yet they still all connect together, that would be pretty cool. I think that would be cool. Yeah, that's cool. And this pipe could just go up here, and we just have like some like cool, either distressed or like, you know, sci-fi looking like under thing for it. We haven't done any materialing to the floor or the ceiling yet. Also the oh no, we're okay. The UVs are just kind of weird, not great on these, you can tell already, but they're not like pure garbage. They're just not stretched out correctly. The see-through material is kind of cool, actually. It just the script doesn't know to tell it to turn back. Yeah, I think it's gonna, like, these are, I've bought like a ton of kits from the marketplace, right? And like the first idea was like, oh, this is so simple. I like literally put those kits in the game and people can use them, but it would never work. So it's finally getting to the point now that I'll make the kits, right? And a lot of the sci-fi kits look like this. It's like they're much better, final art-wise, but like they all snap together like this, and they have pipe stuff that you can dress it. But they're all different. There was no way to actually get them to all work together. So finally, like my kits will start to be like that, of that quality. It's gonna take a little while for the quality bar to hit there, but I think I can get there. There's diminishing returns at a certain point where, like, you know, I think if I even do like if I substance painted this at all, a lot of people are not going to be able to, wouldn't care the extra 10%, 20, whatever the percentage is of like someone who just does it like amazingly. Like if there's any, you know, we're doing like the correct PBR, it's metal, and there's some roughness breakup, and there's like some, you know, any of that, you know, is enough. These are really expensive, these transparent materials, so I didn't want them to stay on there. But if we even do that first pass, I think it ticks the boxes enough for most people. And then maybe at some point we contract someone to like build us like a really nice one. Like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, like, once I do a couple of the basic ones, then it's like, okay, now it's not like an engineering programming thing, it's really an art execution. Then we hire someone that does that like really, really well. But it has to fit within our system. Thinking like Decagon, but they're probably pretty busy at this point. But I think that there's probably a good co-marketing collab that could go down from that. We can like come in here and just start like sticking like Megascan stuff like in the like as we need to. And this one doesn't exactly call for it, but like I think I'm gonna push each one of these like each one of these pieces can become like a whole project. Like have, like, you know, it could have some foliage on it. It could come with lights, be a little expensive to force a light onto this. So maybe you can select it and turn off the light that's on it, which I would need to switch the lights to then being. This is probably how it should have always been. I didn't know what actor components were. I didn't know how to make my own actor components at the beginning of this game, so I did inheritance instead. I just did like a master light. I have 2 master light classes, and then there's children of those. In the end, the lights should probably be actor components that have like a unified variable set. They all save themselves the same way to the same structs. And I can just add those actor, like I can add like a Cinetracer actor, light actor component to this blueprint. And then we have the UI system that's now a unified HUD that basically, if you, depending on the mode, if you select an actor, you can ask it if it has that component, or we could do it through an interface, and it's just a master UI for anything that has any Cinetracer light in it. Versus right now, it has to be of that one class, which is worked out until it's like, hey, I want this wall to also be a light, but also be a wall. Then we have the interfaces and the component system, and we kind of walk away from the pure inheritance tree nightmare I've kind of turned this game into. Inheritance is simple. If we keep it to single inheritance, it's like not much to think about, but then it becomes inflexible or repeated code to then add a light to this and expect to interact with it and have the UI talk to it. Yeah, I have to keep modularizing this stuff. Especially because Cinetracer Academy becomes its own standalone game eventually. And so it'd be nice to take the components with me that I need and leave the heavy extra components that I don't need. Like, you're never going to have the same amount of light control in Academy. I wouldn't need it. Oh, and then, yeah, so it gets a little bit weird. Like, this hallway, it's probably fine, but like on the interiors, to start dressing this, it's a little bit harder to anticipate, but I think it would be like, even if I write like a really cool pipe placement tool, it's a lot of work to place pipes. Even if it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks, it's like click, 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 click. It's still a lot of work to do that to every room. So it would be even cool on this side to build out sets where it's like, okay, like we know a pipe's going to come from here and it goes into the floor in this case and it comes down, and they all still tile together, but they come pre-dressed, with effects and everything still on them. And to attempt performance is to condense everything into like as few texture sheets as possible, and at the core be reusing this same mesh over and over again. I don't know if that actually helps the draw calls at all, actually. But I'll be doing a lot more performance profiling stuff. Specifically with like when we spawn out. Oh, so I can make a prefab. I'm gonna make a prefab. Let's make a space prefab now that we have this kind of like starting thing here. I'll make a prefab collection out of this, like a little hallway. Don't have to keep making it over and over again. This is my warehouse prefab. So previously this used to be the only way to get something that I designed like this. Not that this is great, but it like shows you how to, approach a warehouse layout. The only way I had to give people this was to make it its own level, and that was really bad. So there's now no levels. There's only one level, and you're gonna load in these instead. And then I need a way of profiling, like how expensive is this for CPU? How much does it cost to spin all these up? GPU, how many textures is this costing? I don't know if I can check that per blueprint. I feel like you probably could. And then let the user know that somehow. So I'm gonna make a collection out of this. And so today's been kind of like not getting to the actual list I'm gonna do to finish this up, but this, I think just deeper experimentation into this is fine. So here's the base class. This barely is a class. It has like 2 functions that makes this all possible, but still. I'm gonna call this, it's not a spaceship, nor am I probably gonna finish a spaceship trim sheet. I think it's a tunnel. I'm gonna call it tunnel 01. And this is gonna be a pretty easy one to build. So I'm going into my architecture. And then what's nice about this is I can change these, I'm trying to not like program anything that makes it hard for me to iterate. Or that negatively affects the user when I start to like experiment with things. Whereas that is not the case now. Like me having done this to the system, I'm calling it Cinetracer 0.5 because the idea is to think of it as like a new game. It's not even the same game anymore, meaning we broke all the save files. Everything is gone. Like, it doesn't work any longer. By implementing levels as blueprints, I can then continue to iterate the design of this template, and that won't break your save files anymore. You'll just have to go get... You just have to, if you want the changes that I've made to it, you'd have to just re-import it. Delete the map that you're working on and re-import this one instead. So it's less... design-wise, this is a lot more forgiving for me to make mistakes and, like, you know, say I don't like this design, as long as the class name is the same. Actually, that doesn't even matter. Like, if I come in and redesign this completely, it doesn't break someone who has the old version if I leave these static, the class pieces still there. And I lacked a mech. Oh, okay, so this doesn't work so well there. Well, this is what we're figuring out. I lacked that mechanism in the previous system. Because I want to just keep learning. I don't know what I'm doing, so I just want to keep like being able to make things and try new stuff without kind of screwing everyone who's using the program currently. So this update should help that. I hope. Okay, so I got to reconsider these trims now that we have these big pipes that go through, but I still like them. I really like the detail like baked right into it. We would just need like a variation or two. Right, that has like, I think adding just collars on these at the transition points would help, and just, you know, just different call outs. Like this can still come in here, but then it could go up and pipe into two little ones. This box is two little boxes. I think really easy stuff to iterate on. So I need a floor. So I didn't quite make a spaceship, but I kind of did. What's up, Tiger? I appreciate that. Yeah, it started off trying to be like a spaceship because I was playing Star Wars a little bit this morning. But then it turned into like a sewer tunnel, but I can see the design iteration here. I grow bolder every time. I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is quite good. This is quite good compared to like all the other... I've been trying to make stuff like this to be used for like, you know, previous virtual filmmaking for like a very long time, and this is the best it's ever been. There's like no question. And like Steam and Unreal Engine, like all of that stuff aligns so perfectly for me business wise. It's like, it's quite good. Whereas before I would spend all this like design time on stuff and like, but I could never give it to people. I was like using I was like Cinema 4D stuff and using other people's third-party assets so I could use it, but like I could never give it to anybody. I mean, now this is all, it's borderline all original. It will be within the year, and I can distribute that. I can give that to people. I kind of want to, I guess I'll do it's surprisingly moving more than 3 of these blueprints at once is like super, like I can't really do it with precision. Any more than that, it gets really tricky, so I got to do this kind of slowly. So yeah, you'll spawn this little tunnel with a door piece, and I'll continue the capping. So I'll cap this one, and it also acts as like a mini tutorial. And if I build these correctly, they become just like modular pieces in themselves to continue, right? So basically, I'm gonna make this tunnel. You'll bring it out as a prefab, and then you could just keep bringing them out, and then turn it 90, and then keep going. Like, so this is like just a bigger, you know, it's a prefab. That's exactly what it is. It's a prefab. But they're useful on their own. You can keep reusing these pieces too. It's that place, right? I don't know. No, it's not. See, these ones, it's real easy to come off my own grid system. How's your game coming along, Tiger? You're gonna add some Megascans assets to it now. Just as I'm like, I don't need third-party assets, that becomes free. I'm like, uh-oh, wait a minute. like, maybe I do. Maybe I should. I need to install Quixel Mixer. I've never used it. I'm just like all Substance at this point. But I need to give that a try. what is it? Substance Alchemist. I use Designer and Painter. It's just like, I think everyone uses that. But Quixel, that Quixel one kind of came out as kind of new. Okay, so there's a prefab. It's kind of a toughie to take a screenshot of like how do you describe, because like from out here it's like, what the hell was that? You know, so I gotta come up with ways of getting screenshots of this for the thumbnails. I guess it could be like kind of like this, but then I have to light it really, like kind of weird to get light coming through it. I'll just go put it in the prefab departments menu, but still it's like I have to entice people to click that. Everything's clickbait these days, everything. Even the thumbnails in your own video game. Make a shit thumbnail for it, and now I gotta use it. This guy. Tunnel 01. I like this. This is fun. I like it. I like, if this is what my life becomes, I'll be much happier than, the last 3 months. It was just like programming sucks. It's like hard to show people like what's actually happening and stuff. But like putting new art assets in the game is like really straightforward. Everyone likes that. It's like, oh, new sets. Okay, so here's the... I have to re-thumbnail these ones, but here's the warehouse pieces and here's the tunnel. You could even use these together technically, right? What are the snapping rules for this? I don't remember, but here we go. Oh, no snapping rule at all. That's bad. Okay, so there's the tunnel piece. We just brought in a whole tunnel. Still modular. Can still start chopping pieces out of it. And then I can put another tunnel. Now, I came off the world grid by accident. I want to implement world grid onto this piece. So I gotta go do that. But if world grid was here, it would be perfectly snapped, like right here. Now I have this kind of like fidgety, futzy, like. This is what we don't want. This is why world grid is important, because otherwise it's like, like. Anyway, imagine that snapped perfectly. All right, we just made a tunnel set in 2 seconds. Now I'm gonna go implement world grid because like, I want to test that. There's a question of what snapping.
I'm gonna go make your lunch.
Okay.
I'm gonna turn the studio and see if the heat's working.
I'm almost done.
Can I leave when I go to the studio? Should I go?
Yes, that's fine. World grid snap. Change my game to have to rebuild half the map. Yeah. Yeah. I deleted all my maps. Okay. Yeah. So so I implement my snap system as an interface now. Which before I would have tied it. I would have tied it to a class. No longer.
I don't want to wash my hands. Say I don't have to wash my hands.
The negotiations.
Hey, Mama. Tell only said
Okay.
I don't have to wash my hands.
Tunnel.
I don't want to.
Another
I
tunnel.
just let me have the pizza
Oh.
now.
Turning 90. The right angle tunnel. Floor. And then this. Damn it, those are still green. I didn't change that. Oh well. But yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, this is like kind of the thinking of like an endless maze runner type game too. It's just like, oh, you spawn the next tile and the next tile. But we just do it like that. Right. So as
Don't tell me I have to. Tell me I don't have to wash my hands.
this is telling me it's a bad time to wrap it, but you know, as fast as like, you know, this is like a million times faster than the old system. It still takes time to do this and then get the pieces out. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, so like this is even faster if you wanted to like, stick with this. The repetition's now like kind of maddening. So we'd want more variations in there. But continues to prove the concept of like this kind of like you know, super modular reusable pieces that just need variations in them. We could even have them like, so I think someone was I'll probably make a randomized gun. So you basically would just shoot the wall and it'll just iterate through its different, however each class wants to implement randomizing, variations, you would just take a gun and it would just activate it, versus having to select them all and find a drop down and be like, this variation 2. It's like you just shoot it. It would just be like, just like you don't, to change the color, you just click it. It would be the same thing. You just like randomize. Like I want different versions of this, that, and you just be randomizing them with by clicking on them instead. That's like kind of that's another part of this update. So if I save this though, did I delete half of that? Oh, I put it back. So let's see how this is going to handle. I mean, it's a world grid texture, so there's really no. Yeah, so it put the texture back. It's only because when I spawn it, it's not it's not putting it back on spawn, on begin. It's on end build essentially. It's like doesn't. It wasn't told that there were 2 elements. So, oh, I forgot how broken this is actually. If you oh, okay. So these are this floor set is 300 tall. So this kind of would tell me. I think this is putting a 300 tall floor on this piece, and we'll kind of. I think 300 is actually was the right height for this spaceship set. This kind of still works technically how I did this. You just don't see the top part, but you could floor it with this and it would look fine actually. It actually even works, kind of eats into that, but it still kind of works if you did use a piece like that. Right now I'm focused on creating better characters. Ooh, that takes forever. Right? That could go forever. Like just one character. That's fun though. It's all about learning, right? You're doing your first game. It's just learn as fast as you can. It's not about like, you know, hitting like a certain quality bar probably yet. It's just like, I'm still on that path too. It's just like, how the fuck do we make this work? And then, you know, eventually it becomes, I think I'm just at the point where I'm starting to like optimize, and I've always cared about art. I think I've always cared how it looked. But I'm only just now caring how it performs, and kind of like longer term initiatives of like extending it, continuing to support it, expanding, you know, bringing on other developers to help. You know, is the framework robust enough to even do something like that? Definitely wasn't until this update. Kind of does now. One of the real tests is if I actually ever release the there's decent interest in me releasing this as like a framework for people that want to make like editor type applications. It's like, so now you can select things, and you know, if you want to do a world snap placement, which I imagine for almost any training game, like any industry that wants to make a training application, you're gonna end up right back here in world snap. There's like almost no way to not, unless it's VR. VR gives you a lot more like placing mechanics. But anyone that wants to make a video game app that trains people, it basically needs the core that I just wrote. This is like, I think, a template for that potentially. And the test of that would be to release that publicly ever, see how people do with it. Take this framework and then just, you know, swap out lights with whatever your industry is. And then swap out the my academy mode is just basically a tutorial mode. It's just a framework to make tutorials in 3D. It could be applied to anything, especially visual arts wise. Yeah, I mean, I really think like the fun of this, I consider that second is the pre-made things, and then it just snaps for you. This is just white, obviously, but like if you continue to build this out and it was like this like super high, whatever, I don't know, say super like high quality, like, you know, design with everything painted and everything, and you turned on a light and it all reacted perfectly, and you put people in it and it looked great like out of the gate. The roadmap is to keep making these nice set pieces, right? To just keep making variations till you have everything that represents normal shoots, and then you get into stuff that's a little bit more abstract, kind of like this. And then open it up to like a modding community, so users can just like make their own pieces that fit into here. And we're just the framework and the platform for it. And so my lame ass artwork skills will take us to like, you know, the point where it gets to that point where a community or a team would help take it over. But this interface based world snap, 100%, this is the way to do it. And then the prefabs make this like even more convincing to me that this is gonna work out. So I reloaded it, right? That's what happened. I think the collections are gonna need their own tab eventually. Like this is I think where a lot of people are gonna be. This one's not done. That's what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I still think this is time well spent just doing this. So we have like a house, not finished. I need to make a couple more pieces for it. Completely modular. You can start building on it. This has world grid on it, so that's like kind of like this. I don't know. This was the industrial set that I built out yesterday. I just kind of like the vibe of it, kind of like train station going on. Tunnels over there. Entire warehouse, which is like very soundstagey. People are like super want to build out like their soundstage and warehouse, whatever, to scale. I think they should really start with this. I'm gonna do a whole YouTube series on, you know, building like a real world location that has a scale, but doing it using modular pieces will just save a lot of time. And this is kind of like the tutorial for that, or the final result. And then we have now a tunnel, which is just this little modular 3x1 tunnel that you can continue to, you can go this way with it. Like, and the world grid just handles all the snapping. I'm not saying I have this transition figured out exactly. Like, I think that one's super, not a great case for it. But the really evolved version of this yet, which I haven't started rating this type of logic yet. I think it's probably not too hard. It's just checking it at the right time. Is like how Minecraft works. Like I think is it on? I don't know if it's on spawn. I don't know when Minecraft calls this type of logic, but specifically for a situation like this, when I place, every time you place the wall, I think is the call, has to do this whole check of like pieces immediately around it, right? So this does some sort of like line trace in each direction. Something like that. I don't know what the most performance sensing is going to be, but when I place this here in Minecraft, if these were two fences, it would know it knows that this happened, and it would fill that in for you. And then when you deleted it, it would know that it's gone, and it would delete the fill piece for you. Like like Minecraft with fences, with ladders, with all sorts of objects. It does this like helper piece, right? So I can give people the helper piece like in here. That's kind of like what these are to some degree. Like say that piece capped it perfectly. It's the same logic actually. It would be that same. It puts it on the right corner. It just has to be the right piece, and it would be like there. It's the corner piece, but it'd be one better if it was like Minecraft and it knew that this happened and it filled it for you. Times everything. I have to think of like, you know, I have to program in all the different variations that can happen, but there's probably only like 12, something like that, like 12 different types of, like this is a convex corner. Then there's ones for like doors that end up in there, and there's maybe a ceiling version of it, but have something that's always sensing that. There's some algorithm that I could just run from any generic modular piece. I want this to all be like very generic, and then it just calls what its corner trim should be. And for the houses too, like the houses need that as well. It's really auto placing these trims and auto placing top trims would be very helpful. But that's taking the system, that's like version 2, is to have something like that happening. Yeah, I like these pipes. It just makes it feel like you have less work to do. Like dressing pipes, I think I'll make a tool for it, but I think it's probably like too much for most people. Like just this is enough. It's like, okay, you have this kind of like, you know, this could easily be like, if I made this bigger, it's like, oh, it's a train. You've made a train set, right? There's some tracks. It's not exactly to scale with what you're doing, but like start lighting it and start shooting in it. You know, like there it is. Like if you really need to get it, very few previs happens at perfect scale, and even they round a lot. I'll call them out by name, but there's only so many previs companies. I've seen what they make. That shit's not like, that's like, you know, it's previs. It's not, even the TechViz is not at scale. Like this is more at scale than a lot of that stuff that happens for big movies. Unless it's like a mocap previs or something like that. But like just like a straight up normal viz without motion control and having like the full set build from ArchiCAD in there, is like That stuff's just like they just eyeball the whole thing. Because if you spend more than like X amount of time on a shot, it's like, well, the director's like, I don't like that shot. Next shot, you know, you can't spend that long on each shot. Things change too quick. At least with this, it's like, okay, let's make the tunnel go also this way. Right? It's more like about the big picture idea that you wanted to do that than it is that it's exactly the size of the set you're gonna build. Right? It's like, oh, now we have a T intersection, like, and then be like, you know, I don't want this to be a T intersection. We'll block it off. Like, I want it to be more about like the rapid iteration of ideas than the perfect execution of like a CAD drawing. And I would like it to auto sense that there's a corner here. I bet you there's something real simple that I won't figure out, and I'll do some sort of crazy brute force way of doing it, but I bet you there's a really simple way of doing this. I have orientation figured out. I learned that from like the early modular systems I built, that you need to be very confident about which way the piece is like. And Minecraft is programmed that same way with the block. Someone sent me some like programming scripts for the Minecraft modding. It's like, it's super aware for culling of the cube faces, like which way you're facing, like north, east, south, west. So I have that pre-baked into all of these. Like I know exactly where interior is. I can find, you know, these pieces aren't allowed to come not upright. So I know the up and down. I know the north, east, south, west of this piece. The question just becomes then when you spawn it and you place it, it's only a certain way too. It has to be behind it. If you spawn it in front of it here, it's fine. That corner doesn't need to be solved. It's fine. It's the it's this version of it. So it doesn't matter. This is its back side. The interior is the back. This is the front. And then this is the right side. So this is like its right vector. So if I took this piece and I always asked for its right vector, I need to be able to auto-sense this. I guess I can take its world position, offset it here, and ask if there's a piece there somehow. I haven't done any like world global list of assets. That's another way of doing it, which I'll have to do with lights. If people want like a light manager, it's like every time you make a light, there's a register somewhere, a manager that's keeping track. This could be either like modular logic, where it's like it's sensing around itself, or we have like a parent manager that's just watching the blocks. It's like we just write the case where it's like you placed a wall, we just have to come up with like the math for knowing that this placement happened, asking the types, and then that's just like maps to a data table that's like now spawn this piece instead, or in addition. And then when you delete it, it needs to have the sense to get rid of it. I don't quite have that picture in my head yet, but either someone's always watching, or each piece can figure out on its own. I think putting the logic on the piece feels a little bit heavy. I wonder how Minecraft writes the fences, basically. That's the question. Why not add a column to the corner? You can, but I wanted to do it for you. I have the logic on how to place them. I can model the pieces, but I wanted to do it for you. Because most people basically won't do it. I don't think. Like, I don't even want to do it. You know, like, I have the columns. I have all sorts of things that could go there. That's a square one for a house. There's a big rounder one. That one actually looks like kind of okay. They're almost. But I would take this piece and I would either do a straight one, or I'd curve it, fill it in, curve it up there. It's the perfect corner piece. And I'll make it available. And the prefabs would have them pre-placed, but it would be like, I think, take the system even further if like little capping details would be done. Oh, in this case, we'd have to have the pipe turn in there. It'd just take it even one step further if it placed it for you. It would be really nice. Okay, so I got 0 things done on the list today, but I made a new set. And Jedi Fallen Order's looking pretty nice. I think the lighting and level design and materials is like definitely games are getting better. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I feel like Control and that game are like some of the best looking video games I've ever seen. And especially because they're interiors as well. Like it's fairly easy, I feel like, to make a nice looking exterior game like Red Dead Redemption or something like that. It's like obviously they do an exceedingly good job of it, but like grass and sky and trees, people are programmed to think that looks good. Making nice interiors, the lighting is trickier, I think. A little harder. So what Control pulled off and what I've seen so far of Jedi Fallen Order, this is a pretty high level execution. And like, you know, their recommended GPU is a 1070, so like that's, you know, I think a 1070 is like, well, like 2 or 4 times the capability of like a PS4 or something like that. So they have a bigger budget as well. Okay, well, that was like kind of productive today, I suppose. I'm shipping that piece. I think that's good though. It's to show that it's like, I'm thinking of the current user who's going to come into this version. It's like, here's something you kind of haven't seen before, and it just shows how the the modular system works. Kind of, again, it's like this same system. It's a house, it's a warehouse, it's a tunnel, it's a spaceship, it's a boat. We can make modular boats, like, you know, like anything like that. Modular mountains. I haven't executed on any of those yet. And we do the prefabs. Those are the levels, and then you build them too. And eventually a community hub, Steam Workshop situation where you can like share them with each other. Pretty much it. Cool, man. I am going to run. It's lunchtime. There's a little girl running around here somewhere. She's gonna be on my watch pretty soon. Today's Friday. I'm probably working. I'm gonna try to work the weekend. I don't think I can stream it though. I think the kids are gonna be in here while I do that. So I'll probably be back Monday or something like that. If not, tomorrow. See you guys later. Peace.